Hey, it's Chuck Armstrong with Loudwire Nights, and this is Loudwire Nights On Demand. We talked to Brann Dailor of Mastodon all about the 20th anniversary of Leviathan and their massive tour with Lamb of God. This first aired on Thursday, July 18th. Let's go. This year marks the 20th anniversary of two massive modern metal masterpieces, Lamb of God's Ashes of the Wake and Mastodon's Leviathan. We've been celebrating these anniversaries recently with a couple of the guys from Lamb of God. So tonight I'm beyond excited to turn our attention toward Mastodon and Leviathan as we hang with founding member and drummer Brann Dailor. Brann, thanks so much for hanging on the show tonight, man.
Hey, thanks for having me.
You guys are about to hit the road together, you and Lamb of God, to celebrate these anniversaries. The tour is going to take you through the end of August. How are you feeling right now, man?
I feel great. I just played all the way through it in the basement. And I felt powerful behind the kit, you know. I don't know. That's what I look for, you know. If I can play it. See, the album gives you no breaks. You know what I mean? There's no taking a sip of water or anything. So I just go from start to finish, and it's like, man, did we really not give, like, there's less than a second between every single song. It just goes into the next until you get to Hearts Alive. Then there's a little bit of waves crashing, and I get to just catch my breath for a second. But I feel really good about it. If we had to play the show today, I would be all good.
Nice, man. That's a great feeling. That's got to be a great feeling, man.
Yeah, man. I'm trying not to be a slacker. So yeah, I just because I don't know. I hate the feeling of getting up there and feeling like I'm winded. You know what I mean? So I really need to athletically just keep on top of my game when it comes to any and all things Mastodon and getting it. Because when you transfer from the basement from the practice space to the actual stage and there's people there, the adrenaline gets pumped up and it's a whole different ball game. So you need to be physically ready for that.
I imagine you have learned that over the years too, right? There's probably been moments where maybe you weren't quite as ready and you learned that the hard way.
Yes. especially if they throw like a one-off festival in the middle of a writing cycle or something like that. When you're writing, I'm just not playing to the same intensity all the time because we're sort of figuring things out and you're playing at maybe a lower volume so that people can hear like, okay, we're going to do that and put that there and blah, blah, blah. And so, you know, there's not always the amount of time allotted for me to like go by myself in the basement and shred and get ready for that one off. If it's like in the middle of a writing cycle or a recording, sometimes I'm recording, you know what I mean? Like I get done with my drum tracks and it's time for me to start writing lyrics. So it's like, I'm not really playing drums at all for a couple months or a month at least, you know what I mean? So, anyway, I've experienced the, oh my God, that's the third song. And I feel like I'm about to fall over. So yeah, I try not to let that happen.
So, you know, we're talking about the 20th anniversary of Leviathan. Do you like looking back on things like that? Or like, are you the type of guy who likes looking back on an anniversary like that?
Yeah. I mean, I like it. I mean, it's nice for me, it feels like yesterday, you know what I mean? It's been, I know it's been 20 years, but, things like that, you know, you really have to sit and examine it to feel the age of it. For me anyways, I like plus a lot of these songs have been in our set list for years. They've really like become fan favorites, you know, especially, you know, songs like Blood and Thunder. I don't think it's been left off the set list very often, and when it does, we hear about it. And songs like Megalodon have always been there, and you know, it's fun to sort of dust off like songs like Iceland and Naked Burn and things that haven't really been in the set list for quite some time. And Hearts Alive is another one that people really like and request often that we don't get around to because it's a long one. And so in order to play Hearts Alive, we got to ditch like 3 songs. And when you get to this point in your career, when you have like 10 albums worth of material, over 100 songs to choose from, and you got to play for 45 minutes, you're like, oh, you know.
How methodical are you guys with that? So obviously with this tour, you're going to play Leviathan, from start to finish. But on a non-anniversary tour, you know, how intricate do you guys get into the set list? Are you guys having conversations about it, going back and forth? What's that look like? Yeah,
I mean, I'll usually put it together, and it's become my job over the years to do the set list and then get yelled at by the other members later. I'm like, oh, okay, you know, it has to be songs that are within the wheelhouse. You know what I mean? We're just not the kind of band that can, we can't just whip out songs on a whim, like, you know, just calling them out. You know, they're not like we have to sit and it's like, yeah, I think I know how that goes, but that bridge part, how's that? And it's in the different, you know, so it's a little more intricate than if we had like a Metallica tuning and attitude room backstage,
Yeah,
it makes things a little easier. Like they can whip stuff out because it's like, well, we can just jam it before the set and like,
right, yeah.
do it. But we usually don't have those capabilities. But so we usually roll with a healthy amount of songs within the catalog, and then. But I'm the kind of person that, I really like perfecting the set, you know what I mean? And I don't like to switch it up that much, but some of the other guys do. So we end up having a few songs that we can interchange, and put that in there instead of that and But
yeah.
I don't
So
know.
you must like
It's
having the set list of an album, right? Like playing Leviathan, that's probably feels pretty good to you then.
It does, yeah. We're bound to it. Like, there's no
no back and
there's
forth
no
on that.
like sorry, but we will play like I think we have time for like maybe 4 songs after Leviathan is finished. And so we can always argue about that. That'll be fun.
Good. That's good, man. So, Lamb of God, they're releasing a 20th anniversary of Ashes of the Wake. Is Mastodon doing anything like that with Leviathan?
I think so. I mean, you'd have to talk to Relapse. They're in charge of that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I just haven't heard much about it. I mean, the Lamb of God, they've released a couple tracks, like remixes with different vocalists, but I haven't heard a whole lot.
I know
you
think, yeah, I don't know.
Fair enough, man, yeah.
I would say that we sort of pushed for it, you know what I mean? And we were wanting that whole thing to happen, but, we're not on that label anymore. They didn't, and it's really up to them if they want to do something. We don't really have a lot of control, unfortunately, in those when those kind of things come up. They can run it by us, but we really don't have much control over our catalog, unfortunately. When it comes to things like that, we can type an email and be like, hey, that'd be really cool if you did this because of this, and when you're a young 20-something and you're signing record contracts, hey, be careful.
Yeah, fair enough, man. Well, listen, let's not wade down that rabbit hole or anything.
Oh, no. Relapse has always been great. You know what I mean? I'm just saying that sometimes, you get sort of blindsided by things that come out. And you're like, oh, cool, it's out. And so there might be a 20th anniversary edition coming out, and I'll be like, oh, cool, there it is.
Right on. Well,
I'm just a drummer, man. I sit in the back.
That's right. Yeah. You're just the drummer. So listen, regardless of the anniversary, this is a big tour, man. Like Mastodon and Lamb of God hitting the road together, and it seems like there's just a certain type of band, and maybe even a limited amount of bands, that can live up to the energy or the stature of Mastodon, like to tour alongside with Mastodon. Last year it was Gojira, and that tour was absolutely massive. This year it's Lamb of God. When tours like this take shape, do you get a sense of that? Like just as just the drummer, but as a guy in the band, like, do you get a sense of just the hugeness of these tours, of these bands coming together like this?
I do. I mean, when we put the tours together, it's like, oh man, that should be a slam dunk. It should be like, if I was a kid and I was wanting to go to one of these many summer tours that are coming around, I'd pick that one, or I'd add that to my short list of things I'd want to go see. But I just know that the 2 albums, as far as like our personal catalog is concerned, there's 2 albums that people point out as being like, those are the ones, you know what I mean? And if you're lucky enough to have long enough career, you're going to have those albums that sort of, rise to the top for a majority of your fan base, or even, people who are not as, diehard into your band. I'd be like, well, I really like that Leviathan record. So I think there's more people there's a lot more people that gravitated towards Leviathan and Crack the Sky, those 2 records, as being sort of seminal releases for us. Yeah. And so I feel the same way about Lamb of God. Ashes was one of those records for them as well. They just so happened to come out on the very same day of the same year.
Yeah.
And, they kind of changed both bands' trajectories, and and made everybody in our 2 bands, made our lives a lot better and a lot more cool and really fun. And so, if there's records that you want to go out and celebrate, it's records like that. You know what I mean? That that fans would be stoked if they saw the whole thing played live. And I don't want to look at it like we're resting on our laurels, because we never have, and we're writing new music. There's new music coming, but I don't think there's anything wrong with taking a couple months out to go around the States and some parts of Canada and play the whole thing for everybody. And for all those fans that supported us 20 years ago, or a lot of those fans that came to the party later and didn't get this, because not a lot of people saw. I mean, we weren't playing to huge crowds during Leviathan. We were sort of, it's like, but people were just getting introduced to our band.
Right, yeah.
I think that like Blood and Thunder ended up on the Tony Hawk skateboarding
pro skater
game, pro skater, and Relapse got that song on a whole bunch of different compilations, and then we got on the Ozfest, and we got on some Slayer tours, and things just started to open up for us in a way that they hadn't before with Remission, and so. I'm really excited to go play for everybody and see what they think. Do you guys still like these songs, or were you just bullshitting?
Well, one of the things that always stands out to me, and just hearing you talk about, this album for 20 years and fans, discovering you then or discovering you now and writing and Setlists and just all of these different things. One of the things that stands out to me is that, the fact that essentially from day one, the lineup for the band has never changed. And in today's world, it's pretty unique, man. Like to have a band that's been that band. It's it's been you and Troy and Brent and Bill. For 25 years basically. It's unique to see that. I think is that something you guys like take in or talk about much, or is it just reality and you just kind of go about your day?
No, I talk about it. I bring it up. I go, hey, that's pretty cool. There's not a lot of bands out there that can really say that, but for a lot of bands, it's not their fault. It's just the way the cookie crumbles for some situations. Sure, yeah. And we there could have been many times where whoever in the band could have said, hey, I just want to go do something else. Like I'm just not feeling this project anymore. And I just really feel like I need to go do something else. And that's fine if somebody wants to do that, in the band. You're never, forcing someone to be in the situation. But, I think we all love each other. And what gets you, the initial kind of spark of our band when we all first met, and we were all in that jam space together, getting to know each other through music and how each other played. It was very exciting. You can ask any musician that they can equate it to, falling in love for the first time or something like that. You know what I mean? It's really like you love the way that the person communicates through their instrument to you, and you speak the same language in that regard. And so you can't wait to hear what they're going to come up with next, so you can play along to it and kind of emotionally sink into those guitar riffs and just the whole universe that you start to create. And then over time, because of the fact that, life is happening and it's been 25 years, and along the way you've sort of sunken every single emotional aspect of your life together with these people, what might turn out to be the biggest relationships in our lives.
Yeah.
You just become completely intertwined with the music and the storytelling and the personal struggles and, family members passing away, and, everything that happens in your life ends up in the music and ends up in the riffs and the lyrics. And it's hard to walk away from that. You know what I mean? Especially when we're all still healthy, luckily living and breathing, still learning our instruments, still discovering things. And I think that the fact that we've sort of approached it a little bit like a filmmaker that wants to, I want to do a Western for this next piece, and I want to do this weird movie over here for this next thing, instead of kind of staying in one genre. We sort of spread out a little bit all over the place. And so it's interesting for us, at least, to see where we can take it next, and try to surprise ourselves with something cool, but also always sounds like Mastodon, because we felt like we had discovered something very unique in the beginning.
Sure, yeah.
And we fell in love with that sound, whatever that was, and we just want to remain there. And we realized that Mastodon is a bigger thing than just the four of us dudes. So we just hope to keep it together as long as we possibly can, the same four guys, because we feel like that's a special thing.
Right on, man. Well, you talking about kind of thinking about what's next. What is next, man? We could spend all night talking about the last 20 years, but looking ahead, what's on the horizon for Mastodon?
Riffs.
Drum beats. Yeah.
Drum beats and riff. Yeah, man. I don't know. I can't really divulge too much. It's a hush operation, very top secret, as you know.
I thought we were friends, man, but that's fine. That's fine.
No, we're friends, but some things, I don't want to spoil it, but, I mean, you know,
so there's something to divulge.
The next album will be the heaviest album we've ever written in our careers. You know, there's lots of music. That's all I can say. There's tons of music. We've been writing pretty much this whole time that we've been off since we got home from South America. And after we got home from South America with Gojira, we opened Christmas presents. And then since like February or so, we've just been working hard, making 2 different projects. But not a double album, but 2 different projects. So that's the nugget I can share with you.
That's good. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Whatever those projects are, nobody knows.
Fair enough.
But also there's riffs involved.
Good. I expect some riffs, man.
Some of the riffs are like really heavy and tasty, and I really like them. Awesome.
Finally.
I'm the metalhead in the band. You know what I mean? So it's like, when we get to some real heavy stuff, I'm like, oh yeah, I like that. It's cool.
All right. Good, man. I love hearing that. Well, Brann Dailor, thank you so much for hanging tonight. Cannot wait for this tour with Lamb of God, celebrating the 20th anniversary of Leviathan.
Don't forget, Kerry King's going to be there too.
I know, man. And you're wearing a Slayer shirt right now. I mean, how cool is that Kerry King's going to be playing with you guys? I love it.
I can't wait to show him this. Like, dude, I got a purple Slayer shirt. Are you bummed out?
Talking about you being a metalhead, what'd you think of his solo album?
It's awesome.
Oh man, I think it's so good.
I think it's what the metal world needs. You know what I mean? Like more Slayer sounding stuff. You know what I mean? I mean, it's when I heard it, I was like, sounds like a badass Slayer record. I don't know. You know how you can't take the Slayer out of the guy. He's Slayer.
And why would you want to?
I mean, exactly. I hate when somebody leaves does a different project and they're like doing their thing and they're like, oh, it sounds too much like the band that they're in. It's like, yeah, that's because that's what they sound like.
Right,
Anyway, I'm glad that he's out there doing it, because I know that it was hard for him to step away, and I'm stoked for him, and I'm stoked to hang with him all summer. You know, it's been a while since we got to like really have some chill time, so it'll be fun.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Yes, the tour is kicking off soon. You get we've got all the dates at loudwire.com. You can always stay up to date with everything going on in Mastodon's world at mastodonrocks.com. Brann, hopefully we can hang again soon, man.
Yeah, man. Until then, look for me in all the Loudwire comments. I'm always blowing them up down there.
Right on. Appreciate the support, man.
Yeah, man. No problem.
That wraps up this episode of Loudwire Nights on Demand. Stay caught up with everything happening in the world of rock and metal on the Loudwire app and at loudwire.com.